Hey everyone, welcome to today's session. So today I'm gonna talk about test-driven development. I'm gonna talk about a little about Spake and how to set up. So let's get started. So introduction about myself. I'm a GD for Kotlin. I work as an Android architect at Paytm Insider, which is a section of Paytm, the a product-based company out of India, and we work on multiple modules of Paytm app as well as Paytm Insider app as well. I am a community person. I generally contribute to multiple community events, online, offline, and I'm an avid learner. I write blogs. You can see it here, www.rivu.dev, and I'm a speaker as well. That's what I'm doing today. So yeah, uh, so why Spake? Basically, Spake is easy to read and write, and it's easier to group unit tests together. It's built on Kotlin multi-platform in mind, and moreover, if you are from a JavaScript background or web background, then you will find the Spake DSL more friendlier to write tests than traditional JUnit 4 that we generally use in Android. So yeah, I should talk about the gotchas as well. So Spake, as of now, is a bit complex to set up for Android. It is sometimes unreliable, but it is improving with each release. So yeah, that's there. Uh, my recommendation on Spake is that you can definitely use it in your side projects or demo apps. Just what I do myself, and by the time 2.1.0 becomes stable, I think you can use it in your production apps. So let's get started with setting up Spake. So on the project level, build.gradle, you need to put up this. Basically, Spake requires JUnit 5 to work. So you need to set up JUnit 5 before actually using Spake. So for setting up JUnit 5, you need to add these two, Jacopo and Android JUnit 5 class path. And then since we are using 2.1.0, that is actually not yet production ready, it's in Spake Dev. So that's why we are using this, the Spake Dev Maven URL. But once it hits production, you won't need this line. And then in the dependency section of your app level, you can, or module level, you can add these two lines, basically Android Spec Runner, Spec Runner JUnit 5 and Spec DSL JVM. And you can basically follow the specframework.org for official setup guide. How is it writing test with Spec, right? Let us talk about it a little bit. So Spec is basically a DSL. As I said, it allows you to group tests. Now how? So for example, here I have two groups of tests. One group of tests and two subgroups actually. So you can basically you think of when you are testing a method, right? You might have different scenarios that you want to test the method on. So Descript can host the whole method, right? And different contexts can hold different scenarios. And in that, you can write the test cases with each of them. The test can go with it. So yeah, that's how actually you group the test cases, and inside it you can actually assert uh, or do whatever test you need. So yeah, describe is the parent group, context is the subgroup, and inside context for test cases you will use it, and that will give you a bit scope about what is this test about. So this is one of the ways you can write Spec. There are other styles of writing DSLs with Spec. You can find a detailed blog post. I talked about all the DSL formats or styles available with Spec in detail in my blog. The link is at the below, so you can go there and find. Uh, so let's talk about tests, types of test, right? So today's talk is not only about Spec, it's also about TDD. So when we talk about TDD or test-driven development, we should first talk about types of test. So this is basically the test pyramid. So at the bottom there is unit test cases. So when or how should you write unit test cases? So basically, in TDD, I think unit test case is the most important one because you write unit test cases while you are writing a function, right? Or unit test cases test each of the small units of the program. For us, that is say repository, a function of the repository, or a function of the view model, right? And integration tests actually tests the integration between different parts of the code. For example, integration between view model and repository. You can write test cases to check that they works together well, right? So in unit test, what we do, we either use a fake or mock for the dependencies, right? So if you are testing view model, you will mock the dependency repository, or you will fake the repository and then pass it to the view model and then test it. But in integration test, you will use the actual repository. You will probably fake the repository dependencies if there's any, or you can mock repository dependencies, and then actual repository and actual view model, you will combine them and then you will test them. And then there is end-to-end test case. So it is also important. So in Android, mostly when we write test cases with Espresso, that is mostly E2E test cases, because it doesn't only checks the UI, it actually checks the whole flow of data and everything. So if anything in repository breaks, generally something on your UI will also break, unless you mock the whole flow of data. So generally we don't do that with Espresso, and generally we just mock the API with mock web server, and we just go ahead with it. So, and we also mock the database and we go ahead with it. So yeah, generally Espresso tests are E2E tests in Android. So today we'll be focusing only on unit test cases. Since we'll be doing TDD, I will be writing a repository, and I will be writing the unit test cases for it first, and then I will be writing the repository implementation. Now, when you go ahead, you will also need integration tests and before actually integrating repository with the view model. But due to limited time, I cannot cover it all. So I will only show you how to write unit test cases before writing the implementation. Yeah. So what is TDD, right? So TDD is simple. It is test-driven development. You write the test first, let them fail, and write the implementation. It is important to know that we want the test to fail first. That is the goal of TDD. So what are the steps? We first write the interface, we design the entire flow of the implementation, we then implement the methods with to-do or blank implementation that actually doesn't do anything, because we still want the code to compile, right? We want the test to fail, but we want the code to compile. Uh, and then we write the test cases and let them fail, and then we write the implementation and make sure that is passed now. So yeah, that's how it's done. So let's start with it. Yeah. So this is basically the interface that I will be working on today. So it is basically an article repository. So I'm working on a project that actually fetches articles and shows them, right? So uh, there are two methods here in the repository. Get articles, that will get all the articles from the remote, so from local or remote, and fetch and sync articles, that will get all the articles from remote, save it in DB, and then return it. So it is the interface, and what is the flow, what is the requirement. So as I said, get articles should return from local first, then after syncing it should return from the remote as well. It should ignore empty data or errors from local and emit from remote. So if there is empty data in local database, it should ignore it. If there's error in local database, it should ignore it. If remote is there, if remote also fails, it should show an error, right? Now fetch and sync articles, what it should do. So it should fetch from remote database, sorry, remote API, uh, fetch all data. It should save this in the local DB and then emit the data return from remote. Uh, yeah, that's what fetch and sync articles should do. Uh, Now we have the interface ready. Let's go on and create a blank implementation. So I have implemented it. I will use local data store and remote data store for this. Uh, so basically data store has the same methods. Uh, Data store has only get articles method, and yeah, and save articles method. So I am using the same interface for both of them, and yeah, so this is the basically to do. I have implemented them with to do, and basically I will write the test cases now and they will fail. So when writing test case, before writing test case, we should either prepare the mock or fake. So I am using fakes here today. So these are all the fake classes. So first one is success data. So for the scenario when we want to test the success cases, right? Data stores are returning the data success cases. So that's where this comes in. I will pass a dummy stub data to this as a argument, and then when you call the methods get articles, you will get that data. When you call save articles method, you will get completable dot complete. This is save data store. So when I actually want the save articles to do something, to actually test that the data is getting saved, or rather it repository is calling save articles properly. So here you call the save articles with a list, and that list will get added. That article list will get added to the articles here, and this is publicly accessible. So you can actually assert that this list is exactly what you wanted, and that's what we'll do. To test empty scenario, we have fake empty data store that will just emit empty data, and obviously completable, there's nothing to empty to emit from completable, so it will only emit completable.complete, but single will emit an empty list. And to test the error scenarios, I have fake error data store that will emit error when you call them, and also completable will also emit an error. So let's test fake fetch and sync articles first. So as I said, this describe will actually hold the all the test cases for this particular function. And here I have only one scenario, that remote data store returns some data. What will happen then? So as you can see that I have used fake implementations here. For local data stores, I am using fake save data store. Remember that, because that's where you can actually save the data and you can assert. And for remote DS, I am using fake success data store that will actually return this stop data that I have called dummy data here on the top. And articles repository implementation, I am just passing those two instances. So before each group gets called, before the test gets run, right? So in JVM, sorry, in JUnit 4, we have setup methods. So setup gets called before each of the test cases. So it's same here. Before each of the test cases or before each of the groups, it will get called. It's inside the context, so it will get called before the it gets called. Now, what are we testing? So it should emit remote data and save it to local. So just notice how I have passed on the text. So describe, it tests all the fetch and sync article scenarios. Context, it tests the scenario, particular the scenario where remote data store returns data. And what it should do, that's what you should pass to it. It should emit remote data and save it to local. Now I am calling articles repo dot fetch articles, and I'm calling dot test method here. So dot test is a rx function that returns you a test observer, and you can assert the values emitted by test observer. So I am asserting that that dummy data here is same as it is returned from the test observer. And then I am asserting that the dummy data here is equal with what got saved in the fake save data store. Remember, we passed fake save data store in the local DS, right? So I am testing that exactly that data got saved in the fake save data store. So repository should pass the exact dummy data to the local DS, right? So that's what we are testing, that it is passing that. Now, when you are using mock, you can actually skip that and you can actually call verify instead of testing like this. But some people prefer fake, some people prefer mock. So here I'm showing how to do it with fake. Yeah. Now we'll test get articles method. So as you can see in the describe, I have written test get article scenarios. And here I have written two groups of tests. First one is where both the data store emits data. So what should happen then? If both the data store emits data, it should first uh, okay. First one is when both the data store emits empty. Sorry, if both the data store emits empty, then it should actually show an error, right? So here the error is empty result set exception, and it's a custom error. Basically, I have created it, and we are before each group we are passing empty data store in both the DS implement in both the DS parameters, and then we are creating the repository, and we are calling articles repo.get articles.test. Again, dot test is a rx Java method that returns your test observer for your testing purposes, and then we are asserting that it returns an empty result set exception. So it should return an empty result set exception that hey, both data store were empty, and we are checking that. So that is the first scenario, and the second scenario is when both data store actually emits some data, right? So what should happen when both data store emits data? So you should first show the data from local DS, and then you should show the data from remote DS, right? So you should actually receive both the data. So I'm using, I have two stubs here. So test data factory actually creates the stub for you, and it's randomized. So dummy local data and dummy remote data are not same. And so again, I am using fake success data store here for both the implementations. I am creating the repository instance, and then I am again calling the same method, get articles repo.get articles.test. Here, instead of asserting error, I am asserting that there were two emissions or two values that were emitted. And then I am asserting the values as well. So first one should be dummy local data, and second one should be dummy remote data. I'm checking that those two values were emitted exactly same. And then I'm also testing that there are no errors. So these three assertions you can find in should emit both data, right? So yeah, our test cases are ready, and let's run them. And all of them fails because remember we have to do as the implementation, right? So test cases should actually fail. And so test cases are failing now. Now what should we do? We should implement the methods, right? So yeah, that's what we have done. Basically, we are calling for fetch and sync articles. That right? We are calling remote data store dot get articles. So data store has only two methods that I said about: get articles and save articles. Uh, so uh, Here it first gets the data from remote data store, and in flat map it saves the data in local data store, and then it returns the same data. If remote data store is empty, it returns and or emits an error, empty results at exception. That's all. And what about the get articles, right? So yeah, here's the implementation of get articles. So we are calling local data store dot get articles, and then we are merging it with fetch and sync articles, right? So why? So basically, as I said, this should actually emit twice data, right? So local data store dot get articles will get you the data that's already present in local data store, and then we are merging with fetch and sync articles. So fetch and sync articles will actually get the data from remote, right? We are using merge with operator. So actually, these both operations will run in parallel. Now, data local data store should actually get the data from local DB, so it should be faster than an API call, right? So we can assume that local data store will emit first, and then remote data store will emit. And we are also resuming with fetch and sync articles in case of error. So if local register returns an error, what will happen? Merge with will not get called, right? Because if local register emits an error, the error will actually stop operation. Uh, Error is basically terminal call, right? Or terminal emission. So in that case, on error resume with will get called, and it will directly return the data from repository and save it to the local DB. So yeah, that's the implementation. And let's run the test cases again and see if they passes or not. And yeah, all the test cases pass. So again, let us run through what are the steps we followed. So we first created an interface, and then created blank implementation. Before doing creating blank implementation, we actually designed the flow, how it will be, and we decided how we want to implement the methods, and then we implemented the test cases based on what should be their operation or what we expect them to do. Uh, and then we wrote the test cases, and then let them fail. We run the test cases and checked they are failing, and then we wrote the code, and then we ran the test cases again, and we saw all of them are passing now. So yeah, that's what we have done. uh, we can actually see the methods again. So yeah, that was the interface. That's the blank implementation. And then this is the fakes. So again, success data store actually returns some data. Fake save data store saves the data that we are using in the assert, that this is where actually gets the data saved. And fake empty data store emits empty, and fake error data store emits error. Uh, that's where we tested the fetch and sync articles, and that's where we tested get articles. We let them fail. We wrote the code for get articles and fetch and sync articles, and then we ran the tests again, and we saw them passing. Uh, so yeah, I think I'm done, and these are the few resources that you can go through. And this slide is actually published in speaker deck. You can and the link is there in the speaker blog in Talk app. So you can actually go to Talk app, go to this presentation, TDD in Android Spec, and there you can find the link to the presentation. And I'm on Twitter at the Rivu Chakraborty, and please go to my website as well, rivu.dev. I write blogs about Android, Kotlin, and stuff. And if you have any questions, I am open to take them now. So I don't see any questions yet. Please do ask questions if you have them. Yeah. So is there a situation where you would, so basically I would prefer using Spec on every situation once the Spec 2.1.0 goes to production ready. Because Spec is actually lets you group the tests in easier way. In JUnit, we write thousands of test cases and they are scattered across our class, right? So Spec actually groups them together in a very nice way. So I would prefer using Spec once it is reliable enough. So the next question is, we are suffering from very slow performance with Spec 2 in Android Studio, especially with large files initiation. So yeah, as I said, Spec is not yet production ready. Spec like Spec 2 is they have released the prod version, but it's not reliable, to be honest. So Spec 2.1.0, I see a slight improvement in performances, and so I am using that in my in this presentation as well. I used Spec 2.1.0, and basically once it hits production, I think I will see a bit improvement in Spec. uh, and yeah, so any other question about TDD you can ask me. Cool. I guess that's it then. uh, thank you everyone. Yeah, so it's a good insight. Thank you, I really liked that you liked the talk. So yeah, thanks everyone for being here, and I hope you liked my talk. And if you have any questions, you can anytime reach out to me at my Twitter handle or my website. Uh, so I haven't used Strict, so I can't comment on that. I have used Spec, but I haven't used Strict, so I really can't comment on that. Uh, yeah. So any questions, you can reach out to me anytime. I'll be live at today whole day at droidCon. So you can reach out to me in Talcap, and after the event, you can reach out to me at Twitter, or I am on most of the social medias, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. So you can reach out to me there, or you can also drop me a mail at the revu@revu.dev, and yeah, we'll be happy to talk. Thanks, thanks everyone.